Hello, we are back, and we're back with another tier list. This is actually the first comment suggested video on the channel, so let me know if you want me to do anything else, but today we have a bunch of animal foods and we're going to rank them. So these are all somewhat similar in nutritional breakdown. They have some sort of split between protein and fat and some sort of profile of micronutrients, but most of them are rather similar, particularly with the meats. So I'll take into account all of that, and also I guess convenience and price and all of the above. So what are the best animal foods? Let's find out. So first up we have bacon, and I was actually looking at the profile for bacon and I was a bit surprised. It's actually a little bit better than what I anticipated. I thought I was going to throw it right into D tier, but the micronutrient breakdown is actually okay. Yes, the fat content is a little high, and with animal foods this is saturated fat, so we don't want too much of it. So I'm going to put that in C tier. I wouldn't say avoid it like the plague, but there are better options. Next up, this is whitefish. So the problem with whitefish is the micronutrient profile is really low. It doesn't really have much of things like iron or zinc, things that are in other meats, and this is kind of a problem because if you're paying for meat, it's like you want more than just the protein out of it. That being said, this is probably the leanest thing you can eat as far as animal products go. The fat content is so low, it's pretty much all protein, which means if you're in a calorie deficit, this might be beneficial. So that's the one thing going for it, so I'm going to put it in B tier just because it is so lean. Next up we have oily fish. This is a picture of salmon, but tuna goes as well. And this is straight into S tier because the thing is, this is one of the best sources you can have for omega-3s, which are great for managing systemic inflammation. And, you know, if you can manage that well, you're just living a better life. That's such a big metric for health. So that is fantastic. Omega-3 oils are like the best kind of fat you can really get. Additionally, vitamin D can be quite hard to get from your foods. That's why we rely a lot on the sun to get it during the summer months. Salmon is a bit expensive, but tuna isn't. So if you are trying to save money, you could go for tuna instead. But overall, one of the best things you can eat. Next up, we have honey. And I've talked about honey before in a couple of shorts, but the problem is it's pretty much just sugar. People say, oh, it's natural sugar, so it's better. But natural sugar and I guess processed sugar are chemically the same. The only difference is natural sugar is associated with natural foods, which also have micronutrients, like things like fruits. But the problem is honey doesn't, okay? It's kind of just golden sugar. So yeah, it's D tier. Also the only thing on this list without protein. Next up, liver. Now, full disclosure, I don't eat liver, but if you are struggling with things like iron and zinc intake, iron intake is a problem for a lot of people, particularly females. The deficiency rates are very high because females need actually more iron than men despite eating less total food. So the thing is, it has to be S tier. It's not that expensive either. Animals store all the micronutrients, well, a lot of them in their liver, which means we're kind of just eating the micronutrient stores, which makes it like the most dense thing you can have as far as nutrition. It's so nutritious that even animals know this and they tear out the liver of things they hunt down. So yeah, it's something special. Next up we have yogurt. Now yogurt, there is so much variety with. It can be something that's sugary if it's like very sweet and, you know, they flavoring it with all sorts of stuff. It also can be like a Greek yogurt, which is probably pretty healthy. It's mostly just protein. There's not too much else added to it, I don't think. And on the high end, there's the live culture stuff, which is fantastic for your gut microbiome. Keeps it nice and healthy, helps with your immunity and all sorts of good stuff, even brain health. So it's hard to put because I would say like the sugary yogurts is straight into D tier. They don't really have much to offer unless they fortify it with some micronutrients, but live culture stuff I'd put in S tier, so I'm going to put that right around the B. It really depends what yogurt you pick. Next up we have kind of the trifecta. We got pork, we got chicken, and we got beef. Now this varies a little bit depending on what cut you get. Of course, bacon is still pork technically, but we're just saying the regular cuts. That's chicken breast there, and that's just beef mince. This first one is pork. I'm going to put these all into A tier. They're just well-rounded. They have decent protein content, decent micronutrient density, and this varies between them. I think beef is the best, but I think the saturated fat content is also the highest. But that being said, the iron content is just very good, and iron from animal-based foods is just way more bioavailable, so that's a great choice. Chicken has the benefit of being a lot more lean. It's similar to the whitefish, which is below it, except it actually has more micronutrient density. And pork, I think, on average is better than beef mince as far as fat to protein split, but it also has less iron and I think a bit less zinc as well, which are the two big micronutrients that can be hard to get and which we benefit from with beef. So I'd say these are all A tier, they're just good, you know. People get very worried about saturated fat sometimes, but the thing is, we're getting a lot of good stuff here as well. So I wouldn't be too much worried about the saturated fat. Next up we have milk, and this one's a little bit different to some of the other stuff on here, because for one, it's a lot cheaper, and for two, it's got a very, very different micronutrient breakdown and macronutrient breakdown as well. It's like the only thing here with a significant amount of carbs, I guess sugar as well. But it does have an interesting spread of micronutrients. It's got a lot of things in low quantities, which means if you have a lot of milk, you're getting it in moderate quantities. It's also very cheap. The problem is a lot of people struggle with dairy, and that lactose is not friendly for some people. I'm torn between C and B tier. I'm gonna put it in... I'll put it in B tier just because it is so versatile. And if you're struggling to hit, say, your protein mark, it's a lot easier just to have, you know, a glass or two of milk as opposed to like frying up a steak. So that has that going for it. I would say cheese is definitely below milk. It's got a less ratio of protein to fats, and it's more expensive, and it's not really a staple you'd have in your diet. It's kind of just more of a topping a lot of the time. So I'm gonna put that in, I'll put it in D tier. It's, again, you don't have to be scared of cheese. It's just not really adding anything to your diet. Next up, this is shellfish, and this is similar to yogurt. It really depends on what kind you have. Oysters are the best source of zinc you can get, but how many people actually eat oysters like regularly? And the other shellfish actually aren't that good from what I've looked into. Things like mussels, they're not that good compared to some of these other things on the list. So I put oysters higher, but as a whole, I'm going to put that in C tier just because they are expensive as well, and how many people actually want to eat them. Okay, now whey protein. This is another one that requires a bit of explanation. I'm going to put it in B tier because it is the cheapest protein that you can buy per gram of protein. If you divide like dollars by grams of protein, whatever. But the thing keeping it from going any higher is the fact that the micronutrient breakdown isn't really there. That being said, it's still versatile, and you know, it's a decent thing to have in your diet, particularly if you're trying to cut down a bit and you want things that are high in protein but not a lot else to hit your protein goals without stepping over the line as far as calories go. Next up we have eggs. A lot of people praise the micronutrient profile of the yolk. It's good, it's not fantastic, I think, but I'd say the main thing going for it, it is a great source of choline, and on this list it's probably the cheapest source of choline. Beef liver is also very high, beef has a bit too, but eggs can be a bit easier to fit into your diet for some people. Additionally, they're very versatile. You know, you have them for breakfast or, you know, whenever you want, really. Some people don't want to have a steak for breakfast, which is fair enough, so eggs have that going for it. You can use the egg whites you can get like a carton of egg whites if you don't want to buy protein powder. It's kind of a substitute. I would say they're an A tier just because it adds something new. Like if you look at the other things in the A and S tier, it's all meats, and eggs have the benefit of not being meats, but also having a lot of things that you need from the meats. So I think overall they're pretty good. The media in the past has demonized eggs for cholesterol levels, but that's not really how it works, and I think some people are still a little bit scared based on that sort of thing, even though that's not true. So eggs are good. Anyway, this is the list. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you think some things should be shifted around. It's not a perfect science, you know, some things are going to be on the border, so let me know. But anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and any other tier list ideas, let me know. So I'll see you next time.